Phelan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of saying welcome to Charmed Rewind. You should say it this time.
Welcome to Charmed Rewind.
This was a weird one to do. We took a time-traveling ride way back to season 1.
Yeah, might get whiplash from that.
Yeah. I did another poll this time for Charmed Rewind with a random number generator on Patreon. I was real scared. We had some season 7 and 8 ones, and it was real close. I think this was the closest we've ever had a vote on there. But by just 2 votes, inching to the win was season 1, episode 12, The Wendigo.
The Wendigo. In some ways, this episode was a sign of things to come.
A window into Piper's future.
A Wendigo.
A Wendigo. Ah, that was a good one. Yeah, this was a real interesting period of time in Charmed because since this is only midway into season 1, they're really trying to figure out what they're doing still. Mm-hmm. So you got kind of that Buffy still on it with like a kind of cop show with more monstery type stuff, and later it felt like they really just drifted more towards dudes with fireballs and black robes.
Yeah, and less about them going out and trying to investigate anything.
They care way too much in this. This isn't the Charmed I know.
No.
They actually are like, maybe we should try and help people.
Yeah. Let's go out somewhere, not just that crappy cave set for 2 seconds and be like, well, we did our bit. Let's go home.
Yeah, it feels like they had a decent-ish budget. They go out to different places. The monster makeup, I would say, was pretty decent. Mm-hmm. It just feels real weird. It feels like they were also more likely to have scenes at night and not just well-lit sets. I feel like it drifted more toward that later.
Yeah, definitely.
So, do you think we should just jump in?
Sure.
Alright, so the first scene of this episode is a full moon. Because they seem to think Wendigos are werewolves. That's a theme.
Absolutely no difference in their version of Wendigos.
I don't know why they even bother calling it a Wendigo. They could have just said a werewolf, and it would have made as much sense.
They might as well have, really, because, like, you know, there's a few different variations of Wendigo from what I was looking at. It's like sometimes they're more spirit-like that possess people, and sometimes they're more creature-like, but anything I saw about them says nothing about full moon transformations, and I don't think you generally transform back, especially not during the day like a werewolf.
Yeah, the running theme with Wendigo lore, as far as I know, is mostly the cannibalism aspect, the insatiable hunger.
Yeah.
Something about it originating with cannibalism. None of that really seems to factor into this.
Yeah, sometimes it's like greedy people seem to get turned into Wendigos, I guess, in some lore.
Yeah, it seems to be a person was bad,
yeah.
Became monster, eats people.
You. Which is why Piper turns into one.
Yeah.
She's the evilest of all.
She's the worst. It's interesting we have back-to-back episodes about werewolves, or the girls turning into werewolves / creatures.
Another taste of things to come, except much worse.
I would say like this was 1,000 times better than PMS werewolves.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is such a stark contrast too between like them actually trying and them doing the same story when they didn't give a shit. Like, because the PMS werewolves is just like, it's not gonna happen for another 50 years. Okay, it solved itself. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
This, like, there were, like, stakes and stuff.
Yeah, they felt bad about someone dying at the end. Like, you know, wow, these are, like, people that care.
Yeah.
I'm in need of a guilt remover spell.
Okay, so it's a full moon. Piper has a flat tire. She apparently is on her way to Quake. This is back during the chef days when she was a manager at the restaurant Quake.
When she remembered that was her passion until like the very end of the series where she goes, oh yeah, I wanted to be a chef, but then I opened a nightclub that had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I forgot.
She's apparently going there just to meet Phoebe and Prue. Like, she works there, and then she's like, yeah, I'm gonna have a dinner there with you. Like, wouldn't you want to, like, get away from the restaurant sometimes?
Yeah, you would think. Usually you like to, like, unless she's getting a discount, maybe that's why she's
maybe
there.
they're like, discount food.
They are at the bar, though, so it's another, like, taste of things to come. They're sitting at the bar.
So she's talking to Phoebe on the phone. She's at Quake with Prue. There's a cordless phone just on the counter that they're using.
Yeah, I find that unlikely that they would give the customers a cordless phone, because that'd probably get lost.
Yeah, but I guess they know the manager, so it's cool. Another thing that seems very unlikely, Phoebe is instructing Piper how to use a jack on the car.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like something Phoebe would be able to do.
No, Phoebe doesn't know how to do anything. Even back in season 1, she's terrible.
Her instructions can't help Piper figure it out. So,
I assume, like, Phoebe talks to Piper about herself for quite a while. Like, maybe that was before the episode started, because, like, Piper's like, I gotta get off the phone, the battery's gonna die. And
my phone's gonna die. You spent the whole time talking about emotions or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Feed me. Because, yeah, she drains her batteries, and she has to use a payphone.
Phoebe offers to go get her, but she's like, nah, I'll meet you later. So Piper calls the auto shop, and at Quake, Phoebe asks Prue what she thinks about hiring her to Buckland's. This is her plot for the episode. She has a bunch of odd jobs during season 1. I remember that being a thing. She was kind of the loser sister who couldn't keep a job before she became just Ask Phoebe.
Yeah. Basically, it's like, I'm not really qualified at all, but please, can you hire me, Prue?
Please. Why does Prue do the hiring? She clearly has a boss in this episode also. Like, why is she in charge of this?
Well, I think Prue is kind of a middle manager, so she can hire her own assistant, is the way I took it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess. Phoebe's like, you can use my premonitions to give you the straight dope on the pieces. She says, I'll give you the straight dope on them.
With my premonitions, I might just be able to get you the straight dope without a trip to the office water cooler.
See if they're fakes or not. And Prue's like, yeah, you can start tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Phoebe's like, can I have a ride?
Prue just like, I made a huge mistake.
This was during the era of Phoebe uses a bike to get around, too. Because I remember in the pilot, she gets hit by a car while she's on a bike.
Yeah. She had a nastier fall in the original pilot.
I think she did, yeah.
Yeah.
So Piper's phone has died because Phoebe spent all that time talking about herself. So she walks toward a phone booth in the middle of Murder Park.
Yeah, this is so creepy. It's like this phone booth is just like near the edge of the woods. It kind of looks like if you'd find a phone booth these days where it's, all grown up around it and like no one's used it in years. That's what it looks more like, except this is apparently a current thing. Yeah. Like the only thing is like the grass is too cut around it. Otherwise it'd look like a more modern phone booth.
This just feels like you're asking for trouble, like a cursed phone booth. You find that in there and you get in there and then you end up in Narnia or whatever.
Yeah. It's like it needs signs pointing towards it, like, extra safe. No harm will come to you this way.
Fine.
She senses a presence and takes off in her sensible khakis and turtleneck. Toward the protection of a glass phone booth. They ask later, like, Phoebe's like, hey, how come you didn't, like, freeze it with your powers? And she's like, oh, I was trapped in the phone booth. She knows something's following her. She runs toward that phone booth and does not think while she's outside the phone booth, maybe to use her powers to freeze whatever's coming toward her.
Yeah, her powers must be really weak at this point if it can't get through that phone booth.
Yeah, I'm not clear if this is, like, because their powers are still kind of growing, or if this is they hadn't really figured out the rules yet. The fact that she can't freeze anything outside the phone booth seems weird.
I mean, it might have been nice if they did keep some rules for them instead of just letting Piper wave her hands and blow things up or freeze them later. Like, I
guess she never just like froze the world. I guess she was just kind of affecting the room they were in.
Yeah, but
Right?
it's so easy for her later. It'd been nice if there were some limitations.
Yeah. So a giant hairy creature dashes out of the bushes and pushes over the booth, punching its way inside and slashing Piper's arm. Pretty good scene.
Yeah. 2 thumbs up. Piper gets attacked.
Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff happens within like 30 seconds. So this happens, and then a man with a flare gun runs out and starts shooting at it.
Billy Winchester. He's like, my brothers kicked me out of the group.
Saving things, hunting people. So the Wendigo runs away. Opening credits. We come back. This is certainly a replacement song. Some sad piano music is playing.
Yeah, very weird.
And, yeah, the lyrics. Oh, what a day to be stung. Phoebe and Prue are heading to the hospital. Andy is there. Piper's being bandaged up, and she's telling this doctor about her rare blood type in case she passes out. Just so you know, this is going to be plot relevant.
It's so weird going this far back, though. It's like Andy's there and like no Daryl even with him.
Oh, yeah. Daryl wasn't there at all. We know Daryl was a part of the show at this point, but I guess he just wasn't regularly there.
Yeah.
He didn't become more prominent till Andy's death. That really became his time to shine.
Yeah.
The fact that Piper has a rare blood type, was that brought up again or relevant later?
I doubt it.
I feel like during that episode with the ninja and the plague, like the ninja toy and all that, I feel like that might have factored into it, like why they couldn't help Piper.
Maybe.
Could be wrong. Not that it ever really matters once they have Deus Ex Leo around.
Yeah.
It's so weird because he's not part of the show yet either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he's shown up at any point yet, but the fact that Piper without Leo, like, there's such a, like, together item later on.
No one for her to complain at.
Yeah. It's real weird seeing Piper in this episode because, like, minimal complaining kind of seems to give a shit.
She's almost human.
Yeah, she's not defined by husband and babies constantly.
Or her just constant anger, but it does show up in this episode.
Yeah. Andy mentions he also has the same blood types. You know that's also going to come up. Prue goes with the doctor to sign some forms. Phoebe asks why Piper didn't freeze the thing attacking her, and she mentions the thing about her powers not working outside the phone booth. And she introduces Phoebe, Prue, and Andy to Billy, the flare gun man who saved her. And I'm unclear when Andy rejoined during this conversation, because like they were just talking about freezing and powers and all this stuff. Was Andy around? Was he with Prue? When did they come back?
Well, he goes off with FBI agent Wendigo for a bit.
Well, that didn't happen yet.
No. I don't know. I guess he went and played with himself for a bit.
I don't know. This is real weird too. This also, I guess, kind of highlights the stuff with Andy that didn't really make a lot of sense. So they haven't told him that they're witches yet. I don't think that happens till like the final episode, doesn't it? Like
maybe.
when he dies, the final one he's in. I mean.
Yeah, maybe.
But clearly he knows about the supernatural stuff because they're talking about this Wendigo, werewolf creature, whatever, magical powers it turns into it. He's fine with this. Like, he's like, yeah, I guess there's a Wendigo on the loose, better get it. Like, why can't they tell him at this point?
Yeah, he does not bat an eye at hearing there's a Wendigo, and neither does FBI agent Wendigo. Just really weird.
Yeah, so Piper says she was attacked by a creature, and a woman in a giant scully coat slinks out of the shadows going, do you have a description? She's instantly suspicious.
Phoebe's like, are we related?
Yeah, she does kind of look like Alyssa Milano a bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like a cross between a werewolf and Charles Manson.
She says she's in the FBI, and Phoebe's like, FBI, cool.
What a dumb line.
FBI, cool.
It's like, is that just in there to make Phoebe look like an idiot?
FBI, cool. I got the straight dope on the FBI. So she's been tracking this killer all around in these different places. And Billy explains that this creature, he's been hunting it as well. He knows that it's scared of fire because it attacked him and his fiancée, and he chased it off with a log from their campfire, but right after it killed his fiancée. So kind of bummer for her.
And he's like, but you know what? I love almost smoking. I'm a chain almost smoker. So let's light up in the hospital.
Yeah, he starts trying to smoke, and then Piper blows his cigarette out.
Yeah. Hey, dummy, you're in a hospital. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That keeps happening with this guy. It's like he's about to smoke, but he never does.
Yeah. Keeps getting cut off before he can smoke. Back at the house, Piper is looking through the Book of Shadows, and Prue says, don't worry about it. Let Andy and the FBI lady handle this. Don't worry about this thing that almost killed you, that you described as werewolf-like. I'm sure that won't come into play.
It's fine. It's nothing to do with us and our powers.
Yeah, she seems to be the one most like what they're like later. Like, Prue seems very uninterested in helping Innocence in this episode. She's more focused on her art plot.
Mm-hmm.
But Piper thinks that she's been involved with this for a reason. She thinks that she owes Billy this for helping her out, and because his fiance got killed. It was kind of sad. It's weird that she cares.
It is so weird. This is not the same person in later seasons.
Piper who cares and has bangs. We don't know this person. Who is she?
Wants to go out of her way to help someone. Be like,
the babies. What does this have to do with me and my children? A Wendigo, I don't have time for this. I have a dinner party. The cranberries are coming to the club.
Who's going to be at home to yell at Leo?
Leo!
That's why we didn't know if the blood type came into play later, because like Leo could just heal anything. Like nothing mattered ever.
No.
There were some stakes here. They didn't have like a white lighter around to just heal them whenever anything happened.
Mm-hmm. It's also like it's so nice that they can't just yell at higher beings, because like they yell at the elders later on,
or get some white lighter down here.
Yeah, they actually got to put some elbow grease into this, you know?
Let's go to magic school and complain.
And then Q's like, shut up. So Phoebe comes into the kitchen in a brown pantsuit and hopes to impress her new boss, Prue. Is it impressive? I don't think so.
No. And then like immediately Prue tells her about some item and Phoebe's like, I have one of those.
Yeah.
And Prue's like, you're fired.
It was a stickly Phelan. She was telling her about a stickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the sticklies. I know about those sticks with the poking people with stick. And get out.
She uses her telekinesis, makes her fly out the door.
Yeah. I forgot how lazy the effect with like Prue's power was, where they do the digital zoom at her squinting.
Yeah, she squints at the stove. Something's bubbling over, and then they do digital zoom.
Yeah.
Turn off the stove. Oh, I put in my notes. Piper thinks she owes it to Billy to help with this creature. We are in season 1 for sure.
They're also in season 1 kitchen before they go to Buckland's.
Yeah, it is kind of a different kitchen. Prue leaves the room, and Phoebe is like,
enough about this Wendigo stuff. I'm worried about my job.
And Piper says the most ludicrous thing said in this episode. She says that Phoebe is one of the smartest people she knows.
You're one of the smartest people I know. I'm sure you'll do great.
Either Piper is lying because she wants to see Phoebe crash hard and burn, or she's not met anyone else.
No. This woman cast a smart spell on herself. It's in canon that she's intensely stupid.
I'm wondering, like, maybe did the kitchen get blown up at any point? Like, maybe that explains the completely different remodel of it later.
Maybe. I feel like the whole place got kind of fucked up when Andy died. I feel like they wrecked the place a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe once they had Leo, he did a lot of remodeling. That's kind of what he did. He just worked on the house.
Yeah, I remember him fixing a light forever. Seemed to be what he did mostly.
He floated up to the light. Real great use of his powers.
Sure does take a long time to change this one light bulb.
How many Leos does it take to change a light bulb? So Phoebe leaves for work just as Piper turns the page on the book to the Wendigo page. At Buckland's, Prue is showing Phoebe around, showing her a job. They're looking at some pieces, and she's like, this is a Stickley original, which Phoebe repeats mockingly. A Stickley?
No, she says it like, oh, she's pretending she knows what it is.
so she's, Stickley, of course.
Yeah. I think she was trying to sound like she had any knowledge but obviously did not.
Oh, see, I heard that as like derision, like you're being snooty with your Stickleys.
Nah.
With your snooty lamps.
Well, she's just proving she shouldn't have been hired for this job.
No. This is 2 seconds after being at the job. They're like writing down like cataloging items, even though this is the day of the auction.
Yeah, it's a little insane.
Phoebe picks up a gold bracelet, and she has a vision of a car accident from this bracelet. And she's like, well, I think I had this vision because I need to figure out who owned it. Because again, this is season 1 and she actually cares about innocence. Like, all the visions later are just about her. They're never about any innocence. It's always just about Phoebe and her dates or whatever.
I find it a little weird that this jewelry is just out in the open too, and that they would be touching it with their hands right before the auction.
I don't know. I mean, I guess why couldn't you touch it with your hands?
Because you'd get fingerprints on it. You'd scuff it up.
I guess it depends on... I mean, they weren't selling them for too much, right? It was like 300 or something.
Yeah.
Depending on the item.
You'd think you'd want them as clear as possible right before the auction, though.
Yeah, that's true. Especially because that seemed to be a hot ticket item, too.
Yeah, because her boss like, oh, I can't wait to sell that bracelet.
I can't wait to sell that bracelet.
Prue is annoyed that she had a vision because they have the auction today. She's kind of the Piper of this situation. Like,
you can't be having visions. That annoys me.
Yeah. She's, it's, the way they portray it, though, is not as ghoulish as they are in later seasons. She's just kind of like, oh, this is my job. I can't, like, rip items out of this auction pile, Phoebe.
Yeah, like, this is how they should have done it, because, like, obviously this kind of stuff would interfere with their lives, but the fact that she's trying to work with this inconvenience is what you're supposed to do in a show like this. Like, your heroes are supposed to care a little bit about people.
Yeah. It's nice, like, seeing them actually have real jobs, too. Because, like, they do not later.
Yeah, not just Sex in the City with witches.
Yeah, and it's just like Phoebe doesn't even have to do her job all the time. It's like, oh, I told my boss to screw off, and she said, thank you for telling me to do that, Phoebe. You're the best. You're the only thing keeps the paper going.
It is kind of nice, the seasons when Phoebe was, like, a piece of crap, and everyone's like, you're a piece of crap, and she's like, thank you. And not like,
I love you, Phoebe. You're so good.
Yeah. It's the same with, like, P3. Once they have that, it's like they don't have to do much of anything. Like, maybe once every 10 episodes, you see Piper yelling at someone to, like, tell them to stock the warehouse or something.
Yeah,
That's
she
about
used to manage it, but then she just became yell at Leo lady.
Yeah.
At Quake, Piper is talking to Billy and explaining what a Wendigo is. She says it's a person who turns into a monster at night and eats human hearts. And the first Wendigo was a person who was betrayed by his lover and ate her heart. And, I don't know, they have this whole big theme in this episode about how Wendigos are looking for people in love and want to eat their hearts or whatever. And, like, I don't know. It's a weird theme.
Yeah, apparently it's not even really correct. They just want AB negative blood hearts.
I feel like you can't be too picky if you're looking for a rare blood type and you're like, oh, also there has to be a love story involved. I don't really...
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was just a wrong guess or not.
There seems to be love involved, but it seems to be more about, like, I'm gonna get mine now. Fuck everyone else, because my fiancé was a jerk.
Who does Piper love herself?
Yes. I don't know. So Billy suspects that it takes love from others and asks if Piper was in love, and she goes, no.
Yeah.
That's when Billy decides to get flirty with her because she reminds him of his fiancé.
It's really bad.
Not the time, Billy.
No. Maybe it goes after really beautiful people. 'Cause you're beautiful. Like my dead fiance, huh?
Even Piper seems skeeved out by this. Like, she's like,
Anyway.
Yeah. She's still polite about it because, again, season 1. She probably would have blown him up if this was season 7 or something.
Piper says that the Wendigo attacks during the 3 phases of the full moon, so it may attack again tonight. Again, the werewolf thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just werewolf with the wrong name.
Yeah. They look like the Buffy werewolves, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Pretty. I mean, I said the makeup wasn't that bad. As a Wendigo, it's not that bad. As a werewolf, terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, Wendigo is a bit more open to interpretation. There's a few different descriptions of how they look.
I feel like this is also kind of ambitious makeup-wise, because fur work is hard to do and make it look convincing. Because it's very easy to make it look like fun fur, but to do, like, a whole full-body suit, and then the hands and the face, like... I feel like that the makeup work took more time than they generally did later. Mm-hmm. And especially because it's a Wendigo, they could have done anything with it. Didn't have to be furry.
I mean, the PMS werewolves were just shitty CGI. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It looked way better than that.
Yeah.
She says that they should contact Andy, and but Billy is like, no, I trust FBI agent definitely the Wendigo more. I definitely trust her more.
He says he's known her for years, which is really confusing once we get to the reveal with her.
Well, I think it's because he's been hunting the Wendigo, and she's been hunting the Wendigo at the same time, and because he didn't know it was her, she hasn't, like, killed him yet. Like, they just both happen to be tracking the same killer, which is her.
But how he finds out is ridiculous, because he says, like, oh, she's been great with me, so it's like, he's apparently had a relationship with her. We'll get into it more once we get to
Maybe he was like, you remind me of my dead fiance, FBI lady.
Yeah.
You're so beautiful.
She's just really taken with that for a while.
Yeah. He gets attached to anyone in his vicinity.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first indication we get something's up with Piper. She gets dizzy suddenly. Something's up. That's when the cordless phone rings, and she answers it. Andy's checking in on her. FBI lady happens to be with him, and he's like, hey, FBI lady, Billy's on the way, and also, I dated Piper's sister, and she's like, I hope love isn't involved. A lot in this conversation.
Yeah.
It's weird trying to shoehorn in the, like, he dated Prue for a while.
It's like, that's the only reason I talked to those other idiots. I didn't Prue, okay?
They grew up together. We saw flashbacks. They were childhood friends. But it's like, no, I dated her sister for a while.
Piper? Yeah, I dated her sister.
So Andy's gone over the coroner reports for all these other victims, and he says all of them had the same rare blood type. He doesn't seem to think him having that same rare blood type might be an issue, like, unless he thought he would be the bait when they go. I'm not sure, but he never seems to think his life's in danger.
No, he's just, I'm going to have some nice strolls around in the park, Death Park. It seems fine.
They go on a stakeout looking for this thing, and he never thinks, oh, I have this rare blood type.
I sure hope FBI agent Wendigo isn't the Wendigo, because I'm only out here with her, but I think I can trust her.
Yeah, he believes that a person is turning into a Wendigo, attacking people in the middle of the night, and he never has any clues, any suspicions about who it might be.
No.
But they do think that it will attack again tonight because of the pattern, so they're going to go on a stakeout at the park, because all the time it always attacks in the same area. What are the chances that 3 nights in a row someone with the same rare blood type in a love situation is going to the same park in all these different places, the same place every night?
Yeah, this doesn't look like a large park either, and it's just a field with a stupid payphone in it.
But, like, I don't think this is a rare blood type at all. It seems there's people crawling all over the place with this blood type.
Everyone is AB negative in this episode. So,
FBI lady is meeting up with Billy. He's coming to go talk to her. So they go to the car park alone. And he's like, hey, the Wendigo attacks people in love like an anti-Cupid. He calls it an anti-Cupid.
Anti-Cupid.
And he goes to light a cigarette. And FBI Wendigo reacts like a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Fire bad.
This is what bugs me about them knowing each other for years. Mr. apparently smokes all the time, and FBI...
And he smokes in a hospital, chain smoker.
Well, chain almost smoker. But it's like, this FBI lady must know he smokes at this point. This must have come up, and she has no idea, and yeah, this bad reaction... and stuff, and no attempt to cover it up at all. Just
I need to kill him now.
Why would she react like that anyway? Like it's like she doesn't know what fire is. Not like if fire could hurt her, yeah, I guess you would be scared. But like as a person, you would know it's a lighter. It's not going to go near you.
Yeah, like this Wendigo is supposed to be sort of good, I assume, at covering her tracks. So you'd think
she
if
ain't
that
good
happened,
at all
no,
from anything in this episode.
She sucks, but like according to how long this has been going, you would think she's okay at it. So she should say something like, oh geez, that just startled me for a second or something, you know? But...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to cover up putting your hands in front of your face going, ah! Like a vampire.
Yeah, she sucks at this.
So Billy's dead as shit.
Mm-hmm. First time this ever came up, somehow. As they fade to the commercial, his dead body blinks. Yeah, you can see him like trying not to blink. His eyelids moving as it fades out.
Maybe he wasn't quite dead yet, but he's dead by the next time we see him.
Maybe I'm okay. Nah.
Meanwhile, in the B plot with the bracelet at Buckland's, all this stuff is going on with Phoebe finding out about this bracelet, and they throw a lot of information at you. So Phoebe's like, I found out who owned the bracelet because of the car and then the road and the web, and then I looked it up, and then there was a missing girl, and her father kidnapped him, and the detective was trying to find him, and then found the little girl, but then died before you get it to him. And anyway, I got it on the internet. Like, what? Excuse me? What's happening?
Yeah. What a nonsense there. It's like from the flashback they show of like Phoebe's vision, doesn't seem like that bracelet is even thrown that far.
But she spent so much time working on this that she didn't do any of her work at Buckland's. She's doing a bad job. You think this would lead to her being fired, but it doesn't. It's dumber. So yeah, it belonged to a missing little girl, and Phoebe's like, you can't sell this bracelet because we got to find this little girl. This might be the only proof we have that we know where this little girl is. We will find out that is utterly irrelevant anyway by the end.
Yeah.
So Prue's boss comes in looking for the bracelet. She's like, I was looking for that bracelet. I really want to sell that bracelet, and I just couldn't find it. I'm just hawk eyes on this bracelet all the time.
This is going to be the best seller ever.
This is just a generic-ass gold bracelet. Like, there's nothing special about it. And it has an engraving on it with initials that, like, are very specific. So, like, who wants that?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, like, it's got that inscribed on it. It's like, it wouldn't be worth much to most people, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. At Quake, Piper is at work, sweating and using a glass to cool herself off. She's like sick as shit, and she's like, let me go to work in the food industry. No wonder Quake got shut down. She bought P3 because her restaurant got shut down for health code violations.
Yeah. And wouldn't you know it, surprise health inspection.
This is only for one scene, too. This goes nowhere.
Yes, nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, like, she's like, I'm the manager, and she tries to pretend that she isn't sick while dripping with sweat, just pouring off of her. And while he's there, like, right in front of her, like, she puts her head into the freezer and rests it on some meat. And he's like, excuse me? He's like, I'm gonna shut this restaurant down if you don't go home right now! And she does, end of scene.
Yeah, this could have been accomplished with like a 2-second scene of her being like, oh, I'm too sick to go into work.
Yeah, like there was no reason for this. Like, it's not like they had to have a character in this scene for contractual obligations. Like, we need to have one scene. It just seems like maybe they were short on time or something. So they're like, I don't know, just throw a scene in here.
Maybe.
It's weird.
There's a better thing they could have filled this episode with.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something that would have been more interesting to see they could have filled in this episode with. We'll get to later.
Oh, okay. Well, so Billy's body's been discovered in the car park. Andy's checking it out. FBI lady's acting super suspicious.
Oh.
Andy seems to be catching on that something's going on here.
Yeah, I can't stand when they do this. Like, she is the worst. I can't stand, like, after a reveal, a character does this, like, crappy cover talk. Like, ha ha, yeah, I wonder who killed them. I wonder if they were someone much like me. Maybe she didn't want, he didn't want you to know why they killed him.
She holds up her badge, and her name's Wendigo.
Yeah. I'm suspicious of you.
Homer? Who is Homer? My name is Guy Incognito.
Okay, so, what happened next? Oh, yeah, the auction. Good news, the Stickley piece sells. The lamp got sold, in case anyone was wondering how that went.
Phoebe's like, Stickley.
Stickley.
Cool.
So the bracelet's about to be bid on, and Prue stops it by using her telekinesis to make the number cards fly out of people's hands.
Yeah, Phoebe whines at her. No one really questions this either.
Yeah, everyone's just like, I keep dropping my thing. Anyway, no one, like, says out loud, like, they could have been, like, 300 or whatever. Like, I feel like that happens at auctions, but whatever.
Yeah.
Also, this was a very slow auction here, because usually when you have auctions, it's like, and it was like, anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone want this bracelet?
I see people almost raising their sign all the time, but then they drop them. I guess no one wants
I
it.
guess they didn't. Okay. Well, anyway, I thought it was pretty cool, but let's go to the next piece.
Yeah.
Here's another Stickley! Stickley! Stickley!
Very silly.
At the house, Andy goes to see Piper, and her arm is healed. She feels great. And then she transforms into a Wendigo and attacks him viciously!
Whoa!
That's the end of Andy. He's dead.
Then the nightmare becomes reality.
She wakes up. It was just a dream. She's still sick as shit. Andy shows up at the door, and he tells her about Billy being dead. And she's like, how could this happen? Who could it have been? Cute FBI agent lady, dun, 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 comes from around the corner.
The stupid timing. Why was she waiting around the corner anyway?
She always has these, like, reveals. She's like, oh, this is going to be good. They got a lot of corner reveals in this episode.
Yeah. Just gonna wait for them to say a line that sets me up.
She's like, hey, if you can think of anything useful, call me directly. Gives her FBI business card. This just looks like a printout for, like, a graphic designer or something. Like, yeah. I'm going to give this to all the people at Comic-Con. They leave, and Piper decides to check her wound, and it's all hairy and gross now.
Ew.
Cue some jazzy music? It's like some easy listening, like...
There's some really weird music cues. Probably a replacement again, maybe?
I don't think so. I think it was just a transition shot music sting, like, before Phoebe goes to visit the mom of the missing girl. So she goes there, and she's like, she has the bracelet, and she's like, hey, does this bracelet look familiar? And the mom's like, I've never seen it before. This is just too hard. Why are you bothering me with this? And she's like, oh yeah? What does this stand for? That's my daughter's name. Well, guess what? And her daughter was just standing around the corner with Prue.
Yeah. This is ridiculous.
Why did she need the bracelet then? She had the daughter.
Yeah, this is terrible. Terrible of them to do this, and terrible of the episode to skip over the rescue of this daughter.
They just off-screen rescued the daughter?
Yeah, this is a lot to just skip out on. It's like, well, I think we know what you want to see. An auction that goes poorly.
This is clearly a very traumatic situation for this mom. We don't know how long this little girl's been missing. Clearly a significant amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, what did they do? They just found the dad and then, like, knocked him out and grabbed the girl? Like, what does she think? Like, it's her dad. We don't know what...
Yeah,
I guess she didn't want to be there, but, like, there's a lot of stuff I have questions about.
Yeah, were any authorities contacted about this? Like, it's just so much skipped over in this.
And, like, It's just a dick move to just have the daughter behind the corner, and it feels like that just went wrong. Like she was gonna wait for like a bigger reveal, and then she's just gonna slam the door in her face, and she's like, wait, hang on. We got the daughter, don't worry about it.
Yeah, no need of that. They're terrible. That's definitely a Phoebe plan.
Yeah. Prue's like, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not really invested, I guess. Phoebe's the one who's gonna get the door slammed in her face. I don't care.
So Andy and the FBI lady are going to the stakeout at the park. And she's like, hey, you better turn off your phone so you don't scare that monster away. And he's like, yeah, sounds like a good idea. Boop, boop, boop. You idiot.
It'll be less safe that way, too, yeah.
Yeah. She's also very interested in him dating Piper's sister. It's like, hey, what's up with that?
Piper? Yeah, I dated her sister.
And she's like, let me give you my villain exposition dump. I had a fiancé once who broke my heart.
So I ate his.
Anyway, she's gonna kill rare blood type Andy.
She makes sure to take her coat off first, though, because I guess she likes that coat.
She's like, I don't want to rip my coat, but the rest of my clothes.
Yeah.
So Prue and Phoebe find Piper at home with her hairy arm. And she's all snippy and mean, and it's a real window into her future.
Does your arm not know what time of day it is?
She was just masturbating too much.
Wait, it's like, I guess Andy and FBI Wendigo were just standing around the park for like hours, like doing nothing. Because
it's clearly like afternoon when they show up there.
Yeah,
first.
It's like it's bright and sunny, and then just the next time we cut back to them, it's the middle of the night.
Yeah. So Phoebe picks up FBI agent's card and sees her turn into the Wendigo and attack Andy. All she had to do was hold the card the whole time.
Yep. Just saved us all a lot of time, Phoebe. Could have saved that one guy, too. Billy Winchester.
Yeah. This made it very easy, I guess, that she saw that. They decide to look in the Book of Shadows, and Prue knows what to reference. There's like a bunch of Latin and stuff on there, and Piper's like,
Yeah, you're so smart. Just shut up.
all of these lines she says as the Wendigo sound exactly like Piper lines just normally later on.
Yeah.
Like, none of them seem too mean to be Piper later on a normal day, on a good day.
Yeah, pretty much like season 4 on, this could be regular Piper dialogue.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of Latin and cross-referencing and stuff. This was before the Book of Shadows was just like a Dr. Seuss rhyming book for babies. Like, oh, that's Latin for this, and that means, and then I turn to this page, and then this cross-reference, oh yeah, okay, I see, I've decoded the...
Yeah.
And then later it'd be like, this is the bad guy demon. He does the bad guy thing.
And here's what Phoebe added, a Sears photo of him.
He's a demon in a black robe, and all you have to do is say, boogity boogity boo at him, and he disappears.
Power of 3, let it be. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Power 3 just did everything later.
Mm-hmm.
Blow him up with your hands, Piper. That's all the descriptions. Just do that thing you always do.
Yeah, do your lazy hand wave.
Yeah, lazy hand wave. That's all it says. So they're like, let's go find the Wendigo and kill it. That's going to make Piper better again. That's all we had to do. All that cross-referencing, it just meant kill the Wendigo. And they're like, well, that makes it easy. At least there wasn't 2 people we care about. At least it wasn't like an innocent person. Turns out she was bad anyway.
Yeah. Apparently killing a Wendigo can be quite difficult according to some of the lores. Sometimes you need to cut its heart out. Sometimes you need like a shaman ritual to kill
it was
it.
super easy because this is Charmed.
Yeah.
But first they gotta confine Piper. So when she turns into a Wendigo, she doesn't get into trouble, and Piper's really mad about it. And Phoebe's like, I got some kinky handcuffs.
Wow, wow.
At one point, Piper says,
Screw you, bitch.
And she goes, this is me talking, by the way, not the monster.
Yeah, just like a minute or 2 before, she says something mean, but she's like, this is me talking, you need to kill her.
Yeah, which, I mean, isn't surprising either. Like, oh, Piper wants someone dead. Yeah, sure, that's normal. Why would we be surprised that it's her talking?
Screw you, bitch! This is me talking.
All right, so Andy and FBI agent are at the park. That's when she takes her coat off and turns into a Wendigo. Piper also turns into a Wendigo and immediately breaks free. Thanks, Phoebe. Did nothing. Andy's turned around when FBI agent turns into the Wendigo. She attacks him from behind. He turns around and tries to shoot her. Phoebe and Prue arrive arm in arm just as she's ready to cut his heart out. They're like linked arms walking through the park like, we gotta go find this Wendigo. Why are you doing this?
It's very weird.
He's unconscious and she's got his shirt ripped open and she does like a little slice across his chest. Not a very deep one, but she's starting to she's gonna cut into his chest.
Tenderizing him for...
Yeah. They shoot a flare gun at the Wendigo and she slinks around like an idiot.
Yeah.
There's just like a whole scene where they're shooting flare guns and he's running across the park like,
You're like,
I wrote, what an action sequence.
Phoebe comes up and she's very much like later Charmed ones with this line where she's like, oh, so I guess she didn't cut his heart out yet. I was like...
Yeah, she's like, does he still have his heart? It's like, well, I think it would be a little more blood if she cut his heart out. It'd be a little messier.
Very little caring behind that, too. Like, oh, is he murdered your ex-boyfriend dead, Prue?
Yeah, Prue's the only one who cares about Andy's safety.
It'd have to be a super neat Wendigo. Like, I don't want to get any blood on his shirt while I take his heart out. Put some plastic around him.
It's so funny. They're checking on him and they're like keeping the Wendigo at bay by just like occasionally shooting a flare gun. Like the Wendigo's like, is it safe to come out? And then run away again. But that's when Piper Wendigo also shows up. Yeah. And they don't know which one is which. Phoebe's like, I don't know which one's the robot. Which one do I shoot? And Prue's like, I just shoot whoever and just hope that it's the right one.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have any sort of like pause, any conflict. Like maybe she might shoot Piper.
Yeah. Just shoot
She
one.
shoots the gun and she does nearly like the only reason Piper is not killed the shit out of is because Wendigo Piper can also freeze things, so she freezes the flare gun unknowingly, I think, because I don't know how smart she is as a Wendigo.
Yeah, it seems the way they indicate the kind of confused look the Wendigo gives that it did it accidentally. Just reactionary.
She would have had a flare gun in the fucking face.
Yeah.
And then Prue's like, "Ooh, lucky that happened." Telekinesis is the flare into the FBI Wendigo right into its chest.
Yeah. Well, Phoebe says the super helpful line of, do something.
Yeah.
Do something, do it!
Yeah, so they've killed the shit out of her. Lucky for them, her body just fades out of existence.
Yeah, just nicely disappears. Would this have happened to Piper if they had shot her? Just gone.
They'd just be weeping over nothing.
Yeah.
There'd be no body to mourn. Piper returns to her evil naked self.
Like, how did this get explained, though? Like, this woman was an FBI agent, I assume.
Yeah, maybe that was in the files at the end when they had all of those things that confirmed that neighbor Dan died and all that. Maybe that FBI agent was part of their, like, the Charmed One suspicious files.
You'd think, though, the Bureau might be a little interested. Like, hey, an agent of ours went out there and has disappeared, and the other police officer on the scene only has some vague notes about people slayed some monster in the park.
Yeah. This is also lucky for them. Magically, Andy's chest also heals because the Wendigo's dead.
That made no sense. Why would that happen?
Why does this undo all of this? It's not even like he was hurt that badly. It wouldn't have even mattered if it didn't heal.
Yeah, like...
It's just like a little slice.
Yeah, did that suddenly, like, fix Billy Winchester's neck? Did he suddenly pop up alive?
It fixed him up and he's buried alive. Ah!
Yeah.
He's in the coroner's office.
Yeah.
So at Quake, Piper gives Phoebe and Prue free iced teas for saving her hide. And Phoebe says,
Literally, you Wendigo, you.
On the house, you're saving my hide. Literally, you Wendigo, you.
What a weird line.
Yeah.
What a weird line.
You're weirdos. They do a weird thing at the end too, where they're just like, ooh.
Ew. This is a beautiful WB girlfriend type ending. Like,
Iced teas and all that Wendigo. Sucks about that guy who died. I'm kind of sad.
And it starts playing like you were saying, the CBS panpipes, like from early edition.
Yeah,
like,
they end on CBS panpipes. It's weird. Yeah, Piper says real quick, she's like, I feel bad about Billy dying, because I'm not used to losing an innocent you're supposed to protect.
You better get used to it real soon, Piper.
This is the first of hundreds, Piper. All the ones that you saved will retroactively also get killed, so this ain't...
Yeah.
You gotta count as 0 saves basically by the end. Negative saves.
It's gonna be very much the opposite by later seasons. Like, I'm not used to one of the innocents actually surviving.
She used to cry over losing people, and then by the end she's like,
Man, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
It's not my husband or kids, I don't care.
Need to change a diaper. That's more important.
Piper asks what Prue told Andy about what happened, and she's like, I told him the truth. And Phoebe's like, no way! And that's it. She just literally told him the truth. It's like, what did... She mentioned something about vanquishing, and I'm like, but he still doesn't know they're witches, so what does that have to do with... What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does he just was chill with all this?
Yeah,
I thought it was going to end with her being sarcastic, and she's like, no, I just told him like there was gas leak or something.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
For some reason, she just goes, yeah, I didn't know what else to tell him, so he said, yeah, we killed the Wendigo together.
Yeah, they're like, all right. And then Piper's, this happens first. Phoebe quits her job at Buckland's. She doesn't get fired. She quits and she's like, it's just too emotional for me with all these visions. Shut up, Phoebe.
Lazy Phoebe. I just didn't like, working.
Yeah, it's just, you know what? It's just too emotional for me. It really would be better for me if I didn't work. You understand.
Her takeaway, she's like, we saved this girl from being kidnapped by this evil father, and she's like, I don't want to save anyone like that again.
She's like, I helped someone. I think this is bad news for me. Excuse me?
What? You horrible person.
Especially with Prue being her boss. She could fuck off anytime she wanted. Like, that's the ideal position to be in. I don't know why they wouldn't keep her there for a while anyway. That's a good plot device if they were going to do other things with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that great in this episode, but you can do a lot of things with, like, random art pieces and artifacts and auctions and stuff.
Yeah, and it would have been nice to give them more scenes, outside of the house. Which, it wasn't as big an issue earlier on, but later on it sure was. Just them all hanging around the house forever.
Mm-hmm. So Piper's like,
you better stay out of my world or I'll kill you.
She goes, this is me talking.
This is me talking.
Screw you, bitch! This is me talking.
And then fade to credits as the panpipes of unfunny jokes plays.
Yeah, then a cat delivers them a paper and like, this is tomorrow's issue.
Yeah, real easy going, man. Anyway, Phelan, this is a very important question. Who was your Margoyle, your standout loser of the episode?
It has to be FBI agent Wendigo.
Yeah.
She sucks. There's no way she should have been able to get away with this for years when she's so bad at covering anything. It's like, a lighter! Ah! I've known this guy for years, and apparently he smokes all the time, but this is the first time I ever noticed. Fire! I'm a Wendigo!
She does suck pretty bad.
And then just like after they come back with Andy and her shitty speech, like, I wonder, maybe it could have been not someone who's the Wendigo who killed him, I'm pretty sure it's the Wendigo, but why is it different, huh?
Yeah, I guess I'll go with your theory.
She sucked. Who was your Margoyle?
I am going to go for Phoebe. in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was a real dick move, hiding the daughter around the corner.
Yeah.
I feel like there were easier ways to go about this, but she's like, I'm going to go with the dumbest way of doing this. And she didn't need the bracelet in the first place. Her whole plot kind of like didn't need to happen.
No.
She just made it more complicated.
I feel like the takeaway of I never want to have to save someone like that again is really bad too.
Yeah, basically bad marks all around for Phoebe. You know what's crazy? This episode was about Piper, but she was not the worst one in the episode because it was so early on. Like she was fine. This reminds me of why I liked Piper in the beginning, because she could be like sarcastic and kind of cynical, but like she still cared about people. So it was like, oh, that's kind of funny. All right.
Yeah, and the fact like the glimpses of later season Piper were her out of character.
Yeah. I tell you, she grew her bangs out and then she was just a meanie. Just a meanie pants. So what is your overall takeaway from this episode? How would you rate it?
I mean, it's doofy in spots, but there is a lot more effort in this because it is a season 1 episode. It's nice seeing them leave the house, them being a little active about things. It's like there were scenes like in a whole bunch of different locations, and I feel like later on is either the house or the crappy cave set.
Yeah, it feels like a lot more efforts being put forth. Yeah, I think it's like a solid early season episode. Like a starter into like they're still trying to feel themselves out. But
I like this version of Phoebe better too, like her saying kind of dumb things.
Yeah, like you're allowed to have like some silly things or your character's acting kind of dumb or being kind of cynical sometimes, as long as like there's a structure there where they're moving things forward and they care like a little bit. Unless your intention is for them to be bad guy characters, then go in that way. But you can't present them as heroes and then show that emphatically they are not.
Yeah.
And
coming off of like PMS werewolves where they're all just self-absorbed asshats, it's like you see this and it's just like so different. They care about stuff.
Yeah, well, another thing that was really lost in later seasons was stakes. Just stakes, because if you look at this compared to PMS werewolves, they didn't care. It solved itself and they were like, whatever, the end. And there was arguably more things that should have been at stake, considering this involved Leo and murders and white lighters dying and all this other stuff. But this episode treated this thing with the Wendigo with more like worry about people and trying to save people. Granted, they lost an innocent in this episode, and they didn't really seem to have any thoughts that maybe the Wendigo FBI agent could have been like a person under the influence like Piper, that they could have tried to save her. They're just like, well, it just sucks to be her, man.
Yeah, that was a bit, but the fact there was any empathy for anyone is so much better. Yeah, the fact that she cared about Billy, like this was a character that he flirted with her a little bit, but otherwise it wasn't like, there wasn't like a romantic thing going on. There wasn't like, this is someone I gotta save because a date or whatever. Like there was no selfish reasoning behind it. Like Piper just wanted to help him. The fact like when Piper has like the hairy wound and stuff, there's like fear about it. Yeah. It's not like later if she saw it, it'd be like, oh,
I don't have time for this because I gotta get the kids their lunches so they can go to school.
It was also very nice to see Piper not solely defined by one or two things, because they just relied too heavily on her always talking about normal life, her family, maybe the club, but it really was just sort of focused on yelling at Leo and not wanting to do anything. And it was nice to see her like doing other stuff here. She wanted normal life, except when it came to like, let's not bind our baby's powers who could kill us. An idiot. It also like it was more of a struggle because it wasn't just blow things up. They had to actually try and figure out what to do. There were a lot of easy solutions, granted, but they were like looking things up and like, this is where we need to go. Yeah, I wish the Wendigo's body didn't just disappear and like the conclusion wasn't just so easy, because that's ridiculous. Same with the subplot of just we saved this girl off screen. Yeah. A little too easy, but I think a solid first season episode. I think it was all right. So anything else you'd like to say about the Wendigo?
No.
All right. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, we'd appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, or left a review wherever you're enjoying this on. You can find us in audio form at anchor.fm or other places that host podcasts, most of the big ones, under Charmed Rewind. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/movie nights the series and youtube.com/Phelan. You can support us on Patreon and take part in polls like selecting episodes for Charmed Rewind on patreon.com/movie nights, and Phelan stuff is at patreon.com/Phelan. Thanks to Peter Hunter for editing the podcast for us. You can find him on Twitter at PretorHunter. What hashtags?
Hashtag Wendigo Wiener.
Hashtag Wendigo. I'm going to change that. Hashtag FBI agent Wendigo.
Yeah, it's better.
I think that's it. I had nothing else on that one. I was trying to think of a real good one, but I didn't have one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hashtag Wendigo into the future. All right.
Hashtag Dumb Phoebe.
Dumb Phoebe. Good one.
It's real clever. That is clever as Phoebe.
All right. Much like Phoebe, we're going to be backing around a corner to hide and reveal something to someone. So, hope you Charmanders have a good rest of the year. It's almost over. See you guys next time.